Hello and welcome to another episode of Deeptown Divers VR show. Today we are welcoming Lucas Rizzotto. He is an immersive experience designer. He is a tech nerd, a blogger, a vlogger, a VR developer, and everything you can imagine. And I'm so happy to have you here with us. Hi, Lucas.
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
All right,
Lucas.
and today we'll be discussing all things about tech, VR, AR, MR, XR, and all those R's. Maybe we'll touch upon some other things, for example, your latest show, Lucas Build Things, and many more stuff. So let's dive in. So, Lucas, thanks for coming to the show. I'm glad to see you again. I mean, last time we saw each other in Prague, physically. What an old school stuff.
Yes.
Yes, and now we're
Yeah,
in VR. And how are you? How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Excited about the studio. This is like probably the most amount of effort I've seen in any VR show. The gifts, the windows, the set, the green screen is like this is amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a great set to do the recordings. And yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I guess we can directly dive into the stuff. Congratulations to your new show, Lucas Build Things, and this is amazing. If you didn't see the episode about the time machine in VR, I mean, are you on planet Earth or what's wrong with you? I don't know, guys. But yeah,
Yeah, the show's called Lucas Builds the Future,
builds
by
the
the way.
future, right?
Which
Things
is
future.
similar.
I mean,
Yes.
yes, but definitely an
No
amazing
worries, it's very
episode,
new.
amazing episode, and I love to watch it. And right now, I think you are at what 160,000 views already, the video, and it's coming really nice. How did you come to this idea to make that episode? Maybe you can tell us a few words about that.
Yeah, that's a long story, and we'll get into it in a second. But it's been pretty interesting to see the response that the video's been getting. The video on YouTube, the full thing, 30 minutes, is like 150,000 views so far. But the response is very strong. I got like 5 million views on Reddit, and I'm gonna be doing a bunch of appearances on mainstream TV next week. So it's
Oh,
really
nice!
interesting
Congrats.
that that the mainstream public seems to be showing an interest, and it's not very often that virtual reality gets to do that. So that's what I'm hoping to do, is to create these projects that really can get everybody interested in this stuff, not just nerds such as
Yes,
ourselves.
yes.
And really, building the VR time machine. So basically, what I built, that I released almost exactly last week, was a virtual reality time machine that lets me go back in time and relive moments from my past. So what I did is that I spent an entire year of 2019 wearing cameras on my face, more specifically the Snapchat spectacles, which are camera glasses. And then I used all that footage plus VR to create a time machine that actually works. And really, this project started out of multiple things. Number one, I really wanted to create projects that resonate with people just in general. Number two, I wanted to make something that was really challenging and unique. And number three, quarantine hit, and I was extremely bored. So a combination of all these things together led to not only the project but the pilot of the series, which I think was even more challenging than the actual project. It's really finding the right way to tell the story, and to make the story of building a VR app entertaining to the average person. So
Yeah, I
that is
think
a summary.
I think definitely the video succeeded, and again, congrats to that. It was very entertaining and funny and at some places nerdy and stuff, which is pretty cool. Did you like because I know some YouTubers, right, and I know that some of them are writing like scripts, right, hardcore scripts, and then learn them and they tell them like how did you do that? Did you write script or did you just improvise? What was the process? Maybe if you can tell us a little bit more about that.
No, it was improv through and through. Yeah. I didn't know. For those who've watched the video, you probably noticed that it's very stylistically distinct. I didn't know what the style of the video was going to be going into it, so I was just improvising and seeing what works. I have like 40 minutes of deleted scenes that never made it into the thing. So it was really just me sitting down, grabbing a microphone, and seeing what comes out. And then every now and then I would go like, okay, I know what I want to do for the next 2 minutes, so I'll write these next 2 minutes, and some of them that are like require certain bits of narration. But it was very organic. It was just an improv based creation process,
Right.
and it was originally going to be an 8-minute vlog, and then it became the 30-minute epic that that you saw. Um, but it was really fun to make. Yeah, I took it a little too long to make it, but it was fun. It was
Yeah, I
worth
mean,
it.
it's exactly it was definitely worth it. And what is like you are, I guess, already working on the episode number 2, or like we need some exclusives here. Come on, give us some stuff. Are you working already on some stuff, or you are still thinking what would be the episode 2?
Okay, so here's the thing. Just as like a general background for the audience. So before doing so right now for the rest of my year, I'm going to focus on making very experimental virtual and augmented reality projects designed to be shown as a video story.
Mm-hmm.
In the format of Lucas Builds the Future. And before that, I was making normal virtual reality apps and games and releasing them, you know, on all sorts of platforms. I had a title that released on the Quest last year, and yeah, I just saw that there's so much more potential to engage with the masses when you do projects designed primarily like around a video. So
Mm-hmm.
and it's fun, and it lets me experiment a lot with lots of crazy ideas, even if they have no commercial applications whatsoever.
Right.
Like I can't build the time machine in real life. It's too complicated to turn that into a product, and I wouldn't want to do it anyway, but it's cool enough as a story. So I have a list of projects in my head for the past 2 years that I've always wanted to build. It's just that there was never like a good excuse to make them,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, oh, I can't productize this. I can't do anything with this. It would be a really cool idea, but how does it help me, survive?
Yeah.
But the show hopefully allows me to get all of those and, give them a context, to give them a reason to exist, and give them a reason to, a way for it to make my life financially sustainable. Um, so there's tons of ideas. In the beginning, the next couple episodes are going to mostly be focused in virtual and augmented reality and IoT projects
Mm-hmm.
altogether. But I have like 7 or 8 episodes that are pretty well thought out, involving everything from food tech to genetic stuff. And there's like the idea is that it starts out as a VR AR creation show with comedy and drama, but it slowly becomes more about the future in general.
All right, cool. Yeah, we are looking forward. I'm looking forward to the next episode. How often do you want to release them? Do you know like the time plan? Every month, every second month, or a week, 2 weeks? I guess not weeks,
Definitely
definitely.
no regular schedules. I don't think I can do that. But I am trying to see if I can make, between now and the end of September, if I can make 2 or 3.
All right. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
at the very
that's
least, between now and the end of October, make 3 episodes. That will make me very happy.
okay. Yeah, that's a good that's a
Yeah.
packed schedule,
So
given how big the
just to
projects
give you
are.
a tiny tip, the next project will be focused on the future of propaganda, and it will be
Woo! Okay, you should
pretty risque.
okay, maybe a tip from me. You should time it before the election or something. That will be a good timing to release that one. But yeah,
Mm,
I mean
yeah.
it's cool. We're definitely looking forward to that one. Um, all right, so maybe just to kind of go a little bit back, and also about yourself. How did you get into VR? I guess you answered that question already on many times, but just quick intro. How did you get here? I know you have a degree from the computing science, but how did you get to VR, MR, XR stuff?
No. Yeah, my computer science degree is not a real degree at all. I was, I'm actually from Brazil. I mean, it is a real degree, but here's the thing. I'm from Brazil. I needed a way to immigrate into the States, and the easiest way was for me to enroll in a college. So I got into this college in New York, which is kind of just like average, and I just never went to class, and I really taught myself online. So even though I have a degree, everything that I learned in that degree, I learned on YouTube, and I only came in for like tests and exams. Um, so it's yeah, I do, just to make it clear, because I don't think you need a degree for any of this stuff. Honestly, everything you could possibly um, need to learn, you can find it on YouTube and on free resources, and
Yeah.
it's a much better use of your time. um, and you don't get student debt, which is really good. Yeah, especially today. So the way that I started is honestly, I don't have a technical background at all. Um, Prior to 2016, I thought that coding and development was something that only wizards who have been coding since they were 12 used to do. So I always looked at myself as more of like an arts background person, um, with music, film, all that kind of stuff. But then in 2016, basically, I started to look more closely into these technologies, and I started to, really got enamored with virtual reality. And there were several things that I wanted people to do with the tech that no one seemed to do. And that bug got stuck in my head, and I started thinking of like, but wait, what if I did this thing? It looks like no one's gonna do this thing unless I do it.
Right.
And as time went on, and I started to look at VR more closely, and I started to understand that the whole, you know, that coding is not nearly as complicated as it looks. It is complicated, and it takes some getting used to and some active effort. But ultimately, it's a tool.
Yeah.
It's just like a hammer you use to build a house. And even though I don't enjoy the process of coding that much, you don't need to enjoy a hammer to enjoy building a house. So really, yeah, in 2016, I started to look at things more closely. I tried VR for the first time, and I cried a little bit. Um, I had a big breakup in 2016, which means that I had lots of time and that I needed to distract myself doing something. So I started to learn, Unity, and to learn C Sharp, and to go to hackathons and game jams to apply those things together. And then it just really started to take off from there.
Cool.
So to summarize, it was basically understanding that coding in VR was not as difficult as I first imagined.
Yeah.
Um, Having something that I wanted to say in VR and AR that I felt not a lot of people were doing, having a terrible breakup, and then finally going to lots of hackathons and game jams so I could build a community and build lots of things really fast.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
That's the summary.
That's a magic. That's a magic. A magic formula. I mean, hey, if you're trying to learn how to code, yes, that's what you need to do. Pretty easy. So, what? Just
Yep.
coming back to 2020. How do you feel about all things VR and XR in terms of, let's start with VR. What are your thoughts on today's virtual reality headsets? Which one you're using? I know you use Rift S, but uh, what headsets are you looking forward to? What do you think VR market needs in general? Kind of your thoughts on the VR on VR today.
I've been using the Quest and the Rift S mostly, partially because Oculus gives me those for free, and
Oh,
it's nice.
alert!
But those are good headsets, and I'm already used to Oculus's development tools. Um, as a whole, man, honestly, I kind of stopped thinking about just a hardware ecosystem, and to me, it's just something that I've accepted in the back of my mind. That's
Yep.
like, okay, people are going to be solving this every year, every 2 years. There's going to be like better headsets, and I'm more interested on like the new forms of input that they add. So, I'm very interested in eye tracking and hand tracking and any sort of biometrics we can get, because that changes how you build,
Yep.
the experiences. So I'm curious about those, and I wonder when they'll make their way to the Quest. Even things like being able to do local LAN play with two Quest headsets in the same room. I think there's this huge
Mm-hmm.
genre of co-op games that the VR does not have right now, but it absolutely should,
Yep.
because then you get friends coming to each other's houses to play a game together. I think that's a big deal. Having headsets that work outside would be a fascinating step forward as well. So there's all these little things that I would love for there to be, in the ecosystem, but um, I am, and I think they would help, but I don't really think about that much. What I try to really think about is like more from a um, more simple conceptual angle. What are the ways we can use this technology that people really aren't doing? Not because we still need new hardware features, but because we just really didn't think about it enough, to the point that simple concepts that can be executed today that we just don't do for lack of creativity and exploration. So I think honestly that's what we need more of. Part of the reason I started the series Lucas Builds the Future is just that a like general lack of excitement and innovation. Like in 2017 and 2018, everyone was super hyped. You got all these interesting concepts and games and stuff, but I feel like it's been dying down a bit, and things are like starting to normalize. And I don't see as many projects that really make me scratch my head and really make me rethink how I think about the medium. Of like, whoa, okay, there's this whole part of VR and AR that I didn't even think about,
Right.
but after I see this project, it really expands my thinking. So there's of course a couple of individuals who are doing really really interesting stuff, um, but I think we need more of those, especially if we can create um, projects and experiences that are mind blowing, not just for people who are already in VR, but for the general public, right? Because I think that's how you slowly break down the barriers and get them interested in VR and get them, thinking that like, wait, VR is not just something um, for people to play games with. It has all these applications, and one day, I see myself buying a headset. Um, yeah, because really, the path to getting VR into the mainstream is a very slow breaking down barriers process, in which first you need people to, conceive even the idea of themselves owning a headset before they can actually take the jump. So yeah, as far as like what we need from the hardware front, I actually don't even know. I know all the things that I would like for there to be, and I know they will all be on the headsets
Yeah.
eventually. So I just try to focus on like, what can I do today with what I have today? What are the most interesting things you can do right now that no one else is doing? And I think if we had more people like this, not only the conversation around VR will be flowing, much more actively, but I think the mainstream public will be more actively engaged. And yeah, so that's what I try to do with the time machine, and it kind of worked because I'm going to be like doing like I want to be talking at a housewife NBC talk show next week, and
Nice.
that's not a place you expect to see VR in,
Yeah.
but we
It's
can
amazing. It's
if we make
amazing.
things that are just interesting enough.
Yeah. And I think there's a magic between like making things interesting and also packaging it in the right way, right? That people understand it. And I think you nailed it in the video for sure. And regarding
Yeah.
the VR,
So I'm not sure if that answers your question.
it does. I mean, I like your answer because like it definitely it definitely shows that you are more kind of a creator side where you basically accept, like, as you said, accept what the hardware side is. Sometimes we get lost, even on this show as well, we get lost, talking about hardware and what's coming, what's next, which is an exciting part, by the way. And there's a lot of new hardware coming up and it will be pretty cool and it gets cheaper, and which helps to get it to the masses as well. But I think we're well underway to actually get to the masses by within a few years. We're actually already kind of in the masses, at least in the gaming community. VR is becoming pretty huge, so that's all good and fancy. Um, but I guess people who'll be watching this show, and including me. You've published the game Where the Thoughts Go on Oculus, right? And you have this experience of kind of an indie dev. You are an indie developer, right? And you kind of went from, okay, I have an idea, to I built something, to actually I want people to know about that, and actually that becoming a popular thing. And I guess many questions which people are asking them or you would want to ask you is to kind of explain, how do you go from the process of, okay, let's say I've built something and now I need the world to get to know this thing. What is your hack in terms of how did you do it? I know definitely there's no quick route, and it's all step by step work and process. But how did you do that, for example, with Where the Thoughts Go? And maybe we can jump into the two latest YouTube videos as well later.
Yeah, so the way that I did Where Thoughts Go, so for those who don't know it, Where Thoughts Go is a social VR experience where you enter these worlds where human thoughts are sleeping creatures. Actually, each one, like, you enter these worlds full of these little orbs with, eyes who are asleep, and each one of them is a voice message left by someone else who was there before you were. You can touch these orbs to wake them up, and you can listen to voice messages left by other players. And to progress in the experience, you need to give birth to your own little orbs, speak your own messages, and leave them behind for other people to find. So the whole experience is that like you go to these worlds and each one asks you a very personal question, and the further you go in the worlds, the deeper the questions get, and you get to see this very intimate. Um, you get to anonymously share and look into very intimate parts of other people's lives, all using virtual reality, which was really cool. And I mean, the way that worked, going from from idea all the way to release is that initially it was actually a mobile app for phones. It was
Mm-hmm.
not even a VR project. Um, but I went to a hackathon one day, and that's where hackathons and game jams are super, useful for like testing out ideas. And over 48 hours, I built a very basic version of it in virtual reality because I didn't have any mobile app experience. So I just decided to do it in VR, which was an accident that was wonderful because it just felt so completely different. So, I did the hackathon project, and immediately I saw that there was something that I really liked. And, but okay, you built something over 2 days. It didn't win like a little award at the hackathon, but like, what next? Well, right now, what's next is that you need, another milestone, right? Something to shoot for, and that's ultimately what this is. It's like going from having an idea to releasing something is too wide of a gap. You need smaller milestones
Yeah.
that move you in that direction. So my next milestone was like, okay, I'm gonna try to make an experimental VR narrative out of this
Mm-hmm.
and submit it to a VR film festival. So I there's a couple of VR film festivals around the world and around the states, and those are it's a really cool way to launch your experience if it's more story centered.
Mm-hmm.
So I sat down and I spent like 6 months building something, and I started submitting it to festivals. And eventually, one of them said yes. So I took it to the festival, and then I started to talk to Oculus right about that point because they realized that it was something interesting. Um, and then after the festival was done, it was time for another milestone, which is actually release this. And I went from there to launching on the Oculus Store and launching on Steam, which was a huge learning process. And then finally, porting that over to the Oculus Quest, which required me to learn lots of new skills. But really, it was just, yeah, making sure that that I always had like a new goal and a new challenge that was difficult enough that it would require effort, but not difficult to the point that I had no idea where to even start.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the key is giving yourself like small, but also small milestones that push you just enough. So if you don't, if you're only at the idea stage, make a prototype over a week and show it to a couple of people. And once that's done, you know, try to make something larger that you can release to a
Right.
like bigger audience. And yeah, just like slowly stretch that rubber band up until the point that you can finally release something. I guess that's like a general summary
Yeah.
of how it goes.
It's amazing, and I've heard it many times. Like try
Oh,
to. Yeah.
one thing, and always share progress. Don't develop alone. Don't develop in the dark. It's not worth it. Getting small bits of feedback from people and getting encouragement from your friends is incredibly important. Um, I say this just because some people, myself included, are like, oh, I want this project to be a big surprise, so I'm not gonna share progress on
Right.
it.
Right.
I'm only gonna share when it's done, and it's a terrible mistake. Not only you stop yourself from building a community, you're also stopping yourself from receiving encouragement that will push you forward.
Right.
So
And where
I
did you
just needed
share
to
the
add that.
progress? Is it Reddit, or where else do you share the stuff with your community?
So actually, with Where Thoughts Go, I didn't share nearly as enough progress as I should. I did share with people in real life. So every now and then I go out alone to bars a lot. No, not anymore with COVID. But I met I would meet strangers every now and then, and I would invite them to play test my thing, and I get lots of actual feedback like that. But I didn't share it online because I wanted it to be this big surprise, and I do think it was a mistake
Mm-hmm.
looking back. But after I released on the Oculus and started working on the Quest, I started to share progress much more actively. And you do it, as you said, on Reddit, on Twitter, on whatever social media platform you are on. If you're on messaging boards, share it there. If you have friends on Discord, share it with them. Just make sure that you're always, that you find a small group of people who like the stuff, you sharing your progress,
Yep.
so you can create a positive cycle of feedback and encouragement.
Cool. Yeah, it's a good, and I really like your advice about, like, shoot for some goals, but they're, that they are hard enough but also reachable, that you can actually get there, and then push into another milestone, and that's how you'll get there. it's like Rome wasn't built in a day, and I mean, we didn't build Somnium in a day as well. It was a lot of work involved and a lot of small milestones. But within the 3 years or almost 4 years, we're here and it's working. So that's definitely a great device. And in terms of going like for example, you just had this big hit on, like you just said, on Reddit. How many million people watched it on Reddit or saw it on Reddit? Have you How much preparation did you do before releasing it and making sure that it will get somewhere? Because many people think that either you over prepare or you just completely lucky, for example. Not it's in your case, but in general, people think, okay, if something goes viral, it's most of the time luck. I don't think so. I think it's a lot of work and preparation to get there. But what are your insights into that? Because you have more insight right now on how that worked.
I mean, I think I was telling you before I launched that that I was designing this project to go viral
Mm-hmm.
somewhere
Mm-hmm.
at the very least, because especially nowadays, there's no way you you can make some like a show what I want to show like you can't make a show like the show I'm trying to make without it going viral like pretty much every single episode on some community. Um, I don't think it's luck, not at all. It's of course you can get there with luck. Most people get it with luck because most people are just most of the stuff that goes viral it's just an accident. But I pretty much engineered my project to go viral,
Mm-hmm.
um, and yeah, I think you can do that by just honestly if you I mean, the way that I screen my projects for virality is actually super basic. I just walk up to strangers and I, I condense the project down to a single sentence. It has to like a single phrase that encompasses the whole project. I tell a stranger and I watch their face. If they don't react, it is not a viral project. If they have a very explosive reaction and they go like, "Oh my god," or they go, "Holy shit," or they do something explosive, then you have something because ultimately that's what happens. That's what a viral project is. It's just something that you can't. You look at it and you have an immediate reaction and the compulsion to spread it around. So I think that's something that can be engineered, and you can test it by just sending stuff to your friends and see, are they responding with caps lock or are they just saying cool?
All right.
If
Yeah.
they're responding with caps lock and go like, "Oh, this is amazing," then you've done your job. But if not, then you have you can do it. You can refine your project or your approach enough until it gets to that point. Um, but yeah, the original Beat Saber trailer, it was definitely a holy shit moment for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And even though they did, it was, I guess it was sort of an accident for them.
Yeah. It was a little
It
bit. Yeah.
doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
It
Right.
doesn't have to be.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure. Cool. All
you can
right.
plan it.
Yeah, that's definitely good insight as well.
Oh, and just to add to that, even though my project has gone viral on Reddit and it did pretty well on Twitter, um, what I did is that I created versions for pretty much every single social media network, everything from TikTok, Byte, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. I created versions of 15-second versions of my video to all of them, so
Mm-hmm.
I could post them all at the same time and see which social media platforms are more responsive. It exploded on Reddit and it did well on Twitter, but Instagram was very okay. LinkedIn was very okay. Byte and TikTok, it did not do well yet. So it did very well in some, and it didn't do well in others, and that's part of the learning process. So
Right.
next time I'm going to try to optimize. So it keeps going viral on Reddit, and it does better on Twitter, and that it actually does better on TikTok and Byte, which are now social networks that I'm trying to do. So there's also a learning process. It's
Yeah.
not that I just got it because I
Yeah.
did it. I got one. It went one viral in one social network out of the 9 I posted, and ideally, you want it to go viral in 2 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's good. And for Reddit, did you like approach I don't know, moderators of the groups before, or did you just post it there and just hope for the best? Or how
I
did you?
just posted, yeah. So the art of Reddit is making sure that you're posting in the subreddit, in the right subreddit that makes all the difference in the world.
Right.
And I posted my project on one that's called Next Fucking Level, which is for
Right.
things in the
Right.
world that are,
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
fucking level. And that happened to be the perfect community for the video to blow up in. And ironically enough, I posted the video on virtual reality on the virtual reality subreddit, and it tanked.
Yeah,
So
guys.
sometimes things don't make sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very weird. Um, but yeah, it's making sure that you are posting it in the right community,
Right.
and that people, there's a history of projects that are similar there who have done well before. Um, and you do that only, it's really just by experience. It's just by hanging out and actually using Reddit. Um, and so yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty much
cool.
it.
Yeah, all right. I hope it will be helpful to the viewers. Definitely, it's very interesting to hear kind of like from the first person
Yeah, Reddit's
the
very important. If you want to release a game, an indie game, you got to go viral on Reddit, even if it's in a smaller community. You just have to. You can't be an indie dev and sell games
all right.
without going at least a little bit viral anymore.
Okay, Reddit people, if you're listening, so go there, register, and write something. Say hello to people. All right. So what are you playing today? Like what other games in VR do you enjoy? Do you play anything regularly? Do you play casually? What is the game which brings you back to VR apart from developing stuff?
Whew. Honestly, I haven't really played VR in a couple months. I've been just focused on making it,
Mm-hmm.
like pretty much obsessively focused around making it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what was the last thing that I played? Can I lift my headset for a moment so I can look at my history right
You
now?
can do whatever you want. We're.
Okay, I'm still here. I'm just gonna see the last things that I
I can
played.
see him here. It's good.
Okay.
I can do
Yeah,
it.
honestly, I went a little bit of a marathon. When Half-Life Alex came out, I
Right.
played The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners a lot. That was fun. I
Mm-hmm.
got pretty obsessed with the Vader Immortal Lightsaber Dojo for a little while. Um, yeah, I didn't really like Pistol Whip, but what are you gonna do? Yeah, those were some of the last things that I played. But it's really most of yeah, at least like last year, most of the VR that I would actually actively play was um, I just loved going to virtual reality film festivals
mm-hmm.
just to see.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you get some really experimental, weird, interactive VR stuff that you don't see anywhere else. Because a lot of the stuff that shows up in festivals, they never really make it to the public. Sometimes they're designing it for museum distribution,
Yep.
and sometimes they just die after the festival. So that has been one of the most treasured places for me to try stuff out that really, expands my mind. There, yeah, there's some good stuff online, but again, like me, I'm less interested in repetitive tasks that are really fun, and I'm more
Mm-hmm.
interested in playing things that are short but really open my mind.
Okay.
And I've been getting most of that from like film festivals more than actual, just a general store,
Got it. Got it.
um,
Cool.
and actually building projects. So yeah, I don't use VR as much as I used to, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing crazy projects now. It's because my excitement has dropped a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's fair enough. And do you use or did you use or do you use right now like social VR worlds? And if you do, and maybe like which ones, and what do you think in general about this, like Somnium or Altspace or VR or whatever? Like, what are your how do you see those worlds evolve in within maybe next 3 years? I'm just trying to see how people think about social VR in general.
Okay, so I actually don't like it that much. Um,
Cool.
every
Shut the
time.
camera! Stop the recording!
No, we can talk about this. I think it's important. It's like I don't like it personally. I know there's a group for it and there's a target demographic for it. Um, especially being someone who, being as a teenager, all my friends were online. So online communities were literally
Right.
everything that I had, and I would dream for something like this back then, especially when I was very isolated from the real world. Um, it's uh, yeah, it's I have this strange relationship with social VR that every time, every time somebody invites me to something, I kind of like groan and I don't want to do it because I feel lazy. And every time I'm in it, I'm go like, okay, this is actually pretty fun. Um, but it still doesn't click with me. And honestly, the thing that bothers me about social VR, in general, is that everyone's pretty much doing the same thing, and that's usually a sign that like almost every time when everybody's doing the same thing, it means that everybody's assuming is making the same underlying assumptions, which means that we're missing something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the thing that we're missing with social VR is like all of them are essentially, you embody an avatar, you hang out in spaces, and you move around them much like you would, in real life. We're kind of
Mm-hmm.
emulating
Mm-hmm.
real world communication and putting them in a virtual reality format with some twists, right? You can do crazy avatars,
Sure.
you have some
Sure.
superpowers every here and there, but it's the same kind of like social interaction. But if you look at the internet, we tried that a little bit with chatbot, like with live chats,
Right.
back in the day. But what we've done with the internet is that we created this whole abstraction of like posts and feeds, and basically we created all these abstractions for asynchronous communication. So it's not live, it's
Mm-hmm.
not us talking like this,
Mm-hmm.
but online we post something and that piece of content can be consumed by others a day, a week, a year later. And that's one of the reasons why social interactions on the internet have become so big, because if you can just post things and they can be consumed by people in the future,
Sure.
not tied to time, value builds up over time. So the more people post, the more
Mm-hmm.
value there is for everybody. But in synchronous social systems, which is like social VR right now, in which we're talking, live,
Mm-hmm.
all the value disappears in the ether. We're having this conversation, but the people who are not in this room, aside from, they're going to post it online, so that's
Sure.
different. Um, but yeah, the value like disappears in the air, which is a problem. And so basically, what I'm trying to get at is that I think the internet has shown that asynchronous social is what works. And in virtual reality, nobody is doing asynchronous social aside from where thoughts go, which is very weird. Um, and yeah, especially Facebook. Like Zuckerberg has been saying, like back when he bought Oculus, about the importance of asynchronous social VR,
Mm-hmm.
but Facebook has done nothing with it. And that is just like shocking to me. And that's really my biggest pet peeve with social VR. It does have a role to play as it is right now, but it worries me that everyone's doing the same thing. And it's like we've all just agreed that this is what the future of social interactions are, that we're all pretty much on board with the Ready Player One vision,
Mm-hmm.
but we really haven't we haven't used VR to break down social interaction to its most fundamental parts and try to build something new out of it. Um, and that is like my main issue with it. And I just want to see things that are more unique, that really change the dynamics of social interaction in ways that only VR can, rather than just you talk like you do in real life except in VR with some little twists,
It's a
if
very
that makes sense.
it's a very interesting thought, and I actually agree with you, and there are some parts we try to make here in Somnium different. Like we have this live forever mode where we will be recording people, everything they do and how they move on their land parcels, if they if they want to, and then we'll try to recreate those movements or them as an AI figures in their avatar. So even if they're not here, they can actually communicate with people. Maybe some basic conversations, but then when general AI gets better, and open source AI gets better, we can use that to actually make them even more kind of realistic. Let's say, so whenever you are not here, or even maybe something happened to you, you can still come to that person, to that place here, and talk to the person. And the second thing we do here is we have the 360 bubbles and videos. So like here in the studio, I can place a 360 portal, and you can come into that portal and you'll be inside the other world where you can share, like in where the thoughts go, right? You can share the story, you can show the video, the picture, whatever you want, the music. So yeah, I kind of agree with you that there has to be more consumable content, even if people are not at the same time online. Nevertheless, I also believe that there is a huge value in being able to hang out with people, in real time, because we are just social monkeys, right? We want to communicate with people also in real time. We want to have on. Like yesterday, we went to the disco here, and we were like hanging out in the disco and dancing and having a lot of fun in the bar, right? All together at the same time, sharing the same experience, and that kind of is a. Of course, everybody who were not there, they would never relive that moment, obviously, and they lost the moment forever. But it's something magical to be able to kind of hang out with people from all over the world in the same time. So, but I agree with you. There has to be some solution for this, in terms of so people can consume more and better,
Yeah,
while being kind of semi together. Let's call it like this.
there's definitely value in it. Not like no doubt at all. But I think like the internet has proven without a doubt that there's more value to asynchronous social systems, which is why Skype does pretty well, Google Hangouts, Zoom do pretty well, but they don't do nearly as well as Twitter and Facebook and email, which is also asynchronous for a reason. In WhatsApp, all these companies are built on the foundation of asynchronous social interaction, and the only strange thing is that the entirety of the social VR ecosystem is being built on synchronous principles
Hmm.
rather than, it's like the internet's like asynchronous works at monumental levels and synchronous works as well, and VR is just doing synchronous. And that's what's weird to me personally.
Don't you think that with especially AR and VR going more mainstream, and when I say AR, for example, those hybrid headsets where you can actually flip the thing and or turn your spectacles black, and then you'll be able to do kind of partial VR, let's say, that once those Apple glasses and reels will be more and more accessible, that actually more casual VR will bring more people into the kind of synchronous system, thus doing it more stuff. Don't you think this is happening, or you think something else has to happen for that?
No, in fact, I think that like augmented reality is just going to propagate augmented reality social, asynchronous social, way more. I think we have to be careful when we talk about because I think the challenge is not technological. The challenge is conceptual. It's not that we need more technologies to get these things to work. We just need to think about it in a different way. Um, so it's if anything, like honestly, I think that a lot of the future of social XR is actually social objects,
Mm-hmm.
augmented reality social objects that exist in your home that they have all these social features and they work in these sorts of ways, but they just sit on next to your desk. And whenever you want to have certain kind of social interaction with strangers, you just interact with that object. I think a lot of our social media interactions might get abstracted into something like that. Like 2 years ago, I created an email plant
Mm-hmm.
that was basically turned your email inbox into an augmented reality plant. Each email was like a little berry that you could pluck off and read. If it was an email from one of your favorites, one of your contacts in your favorites
Mm-hmm.
list, it was a little flower. And if you didn't look at your email for a while, the plant starts to die. And there's all these visual ways to I guess turn an email client into something you can interact with physically. Um, so yeah, I'm not sorry. I'm not. I might have gotten a little bit beyond the point, but I think if anything, augmented reality will give us new, better ways to create asynchronous
Mm-hmm.
social experiences in augmented reality that can just sit in the background and exist while you're having your life. It would definitely bring some people into the synchronous craze, but it would be certainly there's a chance that everybody falls in love with synchronous telecommunications all of a sudden, but it's just not historically what has happened ever.
All right, got it.
But there's one thing that I've learned when people are discussing a problem, and this is almost always the case. Whenever somebody tells me of like, the only reason we can't do this is because we need all this crazy technology that's coming in the next couple of years. But when the technology gets here, we'll be able to do it. That is almost always wrong. That is almost means that there's a simple conceptual solution to the problem that is being overlooked, and people,
Mm-hmm.
not only they fail to detect it, but they don't even know it's there. So they're just waiting for for the technology to come in and solve the problem. Um, but I think what I'm realizing as I'm working on my show and I'm building all these crazy experimental projects is like how much land hasn't been explored VR, like VR wise conceptually. People talk about how you know, it's gonna take off once the tracking gets better and once there's less cables and once
Right.
battery life is longer and the headsets are lighter. But I don't think that's it at all. I think it's gonna take off once we really start to explore all of those things that we haven't been exploring, and it's completely doable today. But a lot of people fall into the fallacy of like, oh, when the technology gets better, things are just gonna start happening. But there's so much today that's not being done that makes me think it's like that is just an excuse.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for not
You're
building
definitely onto
interesting things
something.
today.
You're definitely onto something.
Yeah.
It's. I think the end of the day, the truth will be somewhere in the middle, and there will be something. You are absolutely right. There has to be new way to explore current possibilities. And to be honest, today's VR headsets and even AR, they offer a lot. Like you can do a lot of stuff already. And
Yeah.
it's just yeah, it's just a way how to express that and how to bring those solutions.
Yeah, and not I don't want to shit on telepresence. I think it's amazing, especially in augmented reality. Just the prospect of being able to, talk to a family
Yeah.
member and have a hologram of them in front of you in real time, be it in VR and AR, is amazing. It's gonna be one of the best best things in the realm of just like social digital communication. The only reason I'm not interested in it because it's a fairly obvious idea. It's something everybody agrees with. So it's, like we all know it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but we know it's valuable, and we all know it's going to be a thing. So that makes me not interested in it because it's a given, and I feel like you know just saying that it's going to happen, it's like, okay, it's obvious. I'd rather look for something that is not obvious at all immediately, but can be something that has like a ton of hidden value.
Yep.
So that's why like I'm very bullish on like me being yeah, like I was bullish on several things here, but it's not because they don't have value. It's just that I think that they're um, those options are kind of like obvious, and I want to see less obvious but
Mm-hmm.
insightful things.
Yeah. 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 I agree with you.
Cool.
I would love to.
Hopefully this makes sense.
It does. It does make a lot of. It does make. I mean, at least to me. I mean, who cares about the viewers? I'm joking. Hello.
Who
But yeah.
cares?
Oh, there are viewers
I
actually. I
do.
forgot that we're in the show. Hello. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Definitely agree with you, and that's absolutely agreeable. Um, all right. And what are your what are your insights into how do you think actually just kind of departing a little bit from VR but still maybe touching VR a little bit, how do you think the society right now will evolve, independently on which country you are? I mean, you're in US, we're in Europe, but how do you think with COVID and stuff, do you think we have seen a change in a society behavior, which is almost undoable at this moment? So, like for example, people will less go to public spaces, will stay more online because even if COVID is gone, they will be used to it or they will be afraid to go outside. How do you see that? How do you preserve it, and how do you actually perceive this at the moment?
Um, okay, we're talking. This is not my realm of expertise whatsoever. So huge disclaimer. This is just personal opinions.
We'll
I,
put
I
it on the
don't I
screen.
don't I haven't studied the history
Yeah.
of any of this. Um, I actually don't think it's going to be that much of an impact. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
personally, I think people forget things very quickly, and um, I think the next year is going to be a transitioning back to normal year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's yeah, I don't see this affecting things that much. It's more at a business level. It's really like companies and organizations and corporations realizing how exposed they are to this, and when they never really thought about it until it happened. Like Shopify is a company that is now entirely remote permanently.
Yeah.
It is not,
Twitter as
they
well.
did it because of COVID, but they were like, fuck it, this is going to be our new status quo forever. We will never want to be exposed to anything like this again. So at a business level, I think we're going to see lots of waves of companies just trying to protect themselves, so this doesn't happen again. So restaurants, going into food delivery services,
Mm-hmm.
being more reliant on those kinds of delivery apps, because the restaurants right now that started getting in, during COVID, they
Yeah.
had a bit of a
Hard.
rough
Yeah.
time,
Hard
and I
time.
saw
Yeah.
some of these in my neighborhood. Yeah, exactly. Transitioning right now, you want to be established before. Um, so I think at a business level, we'll see lots of those, transitions. And I guess if you're doing enterprise software, it will definitely make a difference in your day-to-day life. Um, I think the average person won't care about it as much.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be affected by those organizations because the financial. Um, I think the yeah the I think companies are more likely to respond to these this economic downturn in a more permanent fashion than people, which are more like adaptive um, throughout time. So I think it's gonna be a big thing for companies. For people, I think they're gonna forget about it pretty quickly. But it's this is gonna happen again, and it's gonna happen more often.
Yep.
The further we develop as a planet and as a species, and it certainly has the potential to affect people more.
All
you
right.
know
Yep.
if if in the future we have a pandemic that affects mostly more similar to the Spanish flu, and it affects mostly young people, that is a scar that will lasts for decades, and that would have really affect society at a really fundamental level. um, but the fact that it doesn't, it's that it's not as deadly as we thought it was initially,
Mm-hmm.
and is and it's just gonna make people get their guards down earlier and relax sooner. And I don't know if that's wise or not. Not sure. Not my realm of expertise. Probably not wise because it's going to happen again. But yeah, that's the summary. Businesses, yeah, it will affect them a lot. Individuals, I think they'll forget about it pretty quick,
Mm-hmm.
as they usually do
All right. Yeah. That's. I think
after a year and a half.
I'd agree with you. I mean, I consider myself like we've been in quarantine for what, like 3 4 months. And there is a lot of realization of, in terms of like which things I miss and which things I don't, right? And you kind of like, it's a good filter.
Right.
It was a
That's
good
been in.
filter, and like definitely I found out that I don't miss some things at all, and I do miss some other things which I would like to immediately go back to. But in the end of the day, yeah, I mean, I think the life, like on 75%, will go back to normal, but there will be some business impacts on some things, like big restaurants, crowded places, overcrowded places, maybe huge concerts and stuff, which might be affected, and thus, they will create a new business models in the future.
Yeah. I am curious, how it affected sales of VR hardware. I have no clue, but I'd be very fascinated to see
I think general.
if
I
it
mean,
was,
at least
positive.
what we saw in Somnium is like people just had more time to be here, and so it was kind of like not in terms of like that many more people came in, even though they did, but also that people who were with us already, we just were hanging out here more. And we paid more attention to what we do here, because that was basically the only way how we could socialize, right? We could hang out with people together, without being exposed to anything, and that was pretty cool. So that at least what we saw here, and I think from what I've talked to other social VR experiences, they had similar things. So that was kind of an interesting insight. Cool. And what?
Yeah. Um.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we should talk about this actually.
Go
Um.
ahead. Go ahead. We are
No.
free
No.
to talk about anything. Show almost.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm more concerned about the United States. As in general, just the rising tensions.
Oh, right.
In
Yeah.
general, like in the country. Yeah, because COVID is just one aspect of it. But that's more of a personal worry. Um, especially this year it's an election year, and it seems to be getting pretty tense every month, and people from all sides are upset about different things, and
Yeah.
COVID's just like
It's a yeah,
just
it's catalyst, yeah.
another one of those
Yeah,
things.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I mean, thanks God, in Europe we had kind of like, especially where I am in Czech Republic, we had such a smooth time here, because government like closed everything early on, and it's kind of a stable government here, and we we had a pretty strong quarantine, so they were not letting anyone ever in anything. But that helped in the beginning, and then they just reopened, and now we have basically back to normal. And like almost nothing. If you go out, you don't feel that there was a COVID, or you read it in the news, but there's not
That's
not.
awesome.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like normal, even though of course you see that there's less tourists, obviously, which is kind of okay for Prague, because it's not overcrowded anymore. But of course, we want tourists to come. But yeah, so that's kind of how we are. But of course, reading the news and looking in the US, you can worry like what can happen there and how people will react. But we hope that it will be all right, and in the end of the day, common sense will win, and people will kind of maybe unite and just do one cause and try to get a better country and a better society. That I think that's what I hope for, and we all want US to be stable and great, because that's a big economy, which is an important for the whole world. So that's kind of my take
Yeah,
on that.
yeah. I think it's fair to. I think it's a fair bet to bet the common sense will win historically in the end, because if not, we'll all be dead. So it won't really matter if you're wrong.
Exactly.
So
You see,
it's a very good
you
bet.
won't know if I'm wrong, so I'll be always right if I say, because if I'm wrong, we're all dead.
Exactly. Honestly, I think
I
this is one of
love
the
it.
best arguments for like optimism when it comes to the future of
Exactly.
humanity. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So what is the one of the coolest experiences or maybe people you met this year, if you can tell about that? Like just like a random, like, what do you remember from this year so far, which really like brings light
Ooh.
into your mind? Just, is it something there?
I mean, people that I met this year. Yeah, this was not a very good year. For meeting people.
Let's say 219, for example, starting from 219, and you went from the in trip for the
It
whole
was
world,
you,
right?
Arthur.
Oh, it was me, of course. No,
Yeah,
but you went through the whole
yeah.
Europe, right? You traveled a lot of countries.
Yes.
And
I
and
did. Oh my god, you can't do this to me. It's like I met so many people. There's no one favorite. There's like lots of people that I really liked. Made lots of friends. There's lots of people who really admire. Um, Sam Chiat, who's my roommate, who's been doing some exceptional,
hmm
very very strange apps and work. Aiden Wolf, which was one of my best friends. VR Human, which is artist from Germany,
hmm
Vlad. He's also a fantastic human being. There's like so many people that I
cool.
met throughout that it's really hard to say. Um, Even if I said like one or two names, I'll almost be doing the harm of putting them above the others, and I can't do that.
No. I
But
maybe
there's
maybe
plenty.
the
Yeah.
question was wrong. I wanted maybe like some experience you lived through. Maybe some, you were traveling a lot and you saw different cities and stuff. Like, what stuck with
Oh,
you? Maybe some even not so important for us, but like something which definitely caught your attention and you remember it still. For example, that's what I wanted to
cool.
to
I
go at.
was I was speaking at a design conference in northern Sweden in the
Mhm.
summer,
Mhm.
like way 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 north,
Mhm.
like at the top of the world, literally. And yeah, one of the best days of last year was one day, the final day of the conference. We all went out, we took some bikes, we did like a goodbye party at the conference, and then we realized it was 1 a.m. but the sun was out
Nice.
because northern Sweden.
Nice.
And we were like, oh, let's just go to this little kids playground and play in it, and then just jump in the river at 1 a.m. Everyone's slightly drunk, northern Sweden. That was pretty amazing.
Nice.
Honestly, like the north, the northern of Scandinavia is like the closest I felt to being in a different planet, and that was pretty amazing.
Cool.
Not just because of the people, but just the whole experiences. Yeah, traveling has been um, an enormous gift, but also it saves me a lot of money compared to America, which is very weird because you would assume that living in the United States would be cheaper than traveling around the world, but it's not. It's
Nice.
not at all. Not
Okay.
anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting. And are there any like maybe top three cities which you liked throughout the whole trip? I mean, how many cities did you visit?
I don't know, man.
More than 20?
I think it was like um, more than 20 countries. Cities, I don't know.
Okay. And what
Yeah.
top three in your personal experience? Where did you like to stay the most?
Okay. So I think my favorites are Istanbul, Prague, and Barcelona.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
I guess
I
I
think
know why
so.
Prague. I know
I
why
don't know. I
Prague
love
because it's an amazing
Amsterdam.
city. But why
I
Istanbul?
love Prague so much. I would live there. I would totally live there.
Why Istanbul? How? Because I mean, I've never been to Istanbul. So what was so special about Istanbul?
Oh my God, it's one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been in.
hmm
It's beautiful all the time. Being there makes me happy. The food's amazing. Turkish food is just great. Um, it's just a very very unique magical place. At least when I was there, I had a really good time. Um, of course, the they're not doing very well in terms of equality of
hmm
gender. There's
hmm
weaknesses in Turkey, but Istanbul was one of the most breathtaking places I've been to.
Awesome.
I just loved it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why. I
Yeah, I
actually
mean,
just went there because I played an Indiana Jones game when I was a kid when you went to Istanbul, and I've always been fascinated with the idea of going to Istanbul.
mm-hmm,
So now that I had the ability, I just went there just because of that, and it was totally worth it.
cool.
Romania is great too.
Okay, yeah, Romania. I've heard a lot of
I
cool
loved
things about
all of
Romania.
them.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
totally can imagine. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was amazing to chat with you, and thanks for coming to the show. And I definitely hope to see you as a guest here again, maybe in half a year, and see how things go and what are your next plans, because you have a lot of things in works, and I'm definitely looking forward to see that. And yeah, I don't know, maybe you have something to share with the audience. What do you want them to do, to know, to plug your stuff, where they can find you, and we'll put the links in the description.
Oh yeah, if you want to play something in VR that's weird and emotional, you should try Where Thoughts Go. It's available on Oculus Quest, Oculus Steam, all that good stuff. And please subscribe to Lucas Builds the Future on YouTube. I'm going to be doing lots of really some of the most weird things you've seen with VR and AR in the next couple of months. It's going to be very weird, very fun, and if you haven't seen a time machine, I'm sure you're going to love it. It's hard to find people who don't like it. So yeah, I just really appreciate you listening. I hope you could learn something from our conversation today. And yeah, please also, just keep watching this because there's so much effort put into this podcast, as you can
Thanks.
clearly see.
Thanks.
And we need more stuff like this.
It's I mean, I started to do this because I just enjoy doing it. It's just fun, building the studio, talking to amazing guests, and discussing stuff. And by the way, being doing it in VR, and recording it,
I know.
it's just so cool. And I'm loving it. So yeah, I'm not doing it for you, but also for myself as well a little bit, because
Of course.
it's just so cool. Okay, so thanks a lot once again. Was great pleasure to see you again in VR though, but hopefully to see you in Prague sometime soon. And yeah, for those who are watching, of course, all the social media goodness, subscribe, like, hit the bell button, whatever you need to hit. And until the next time, see you on the other side of the monitor. Bye bye. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.